Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Meet the Manager. I am joined today with one of Ramble's finest, Kevin Hurd. Kevin, nice to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, mate. I've really enjoyed the first two episodes so far. It's been good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Before we get started, you were off on vacation for a good bit of last week. How was vacation?
It was fantastic, mate. Yeah, just took the wife and the kids away for a week to Portugal, so really enjoyed it. Nice to get a break away and just leave the rat race for a week. So
Yeah.
yeah, enjoyed it.
You did it right at the kickoff of season 7. Did you need a little bit of a break from MFL, or was that just kind of timing with the family, how everything goes?
No, it was unfortunate timing. As I've already said on the ramble, it was a bit of a shame because, well, we can get into it obviously, but with all the engine changes, I wasn't very well prepared. And yeah, the holiday was bad timing in that sense for sure.
I kind of feel the same way. You and I talk a bit. I lean on you a lot for some advice and tactics, and for sure felt kind of a bit of like a panic, kind of like an unprepared Christmas morning where you're like, "Oh crap, we're here. What do we do?" And your point, part of that was some of the engine changes that we'll get into. But good. I'm glad you got to take some time away. Weather there, all good?
It was beautiful, yeah. Well, in Scotland, we're used to sort of 12, 13 degrees in the summer.
Yeah.
Celsius, which, for you guys in America isn't very hot at all, but for us it's quite warm. But in Portugal, it was 31, 33 degrees. It was unbearable. Very, very hot.
Yeah.
But we're just not used to that weather, so...
Yeah, those lower temperatures sound nice. I don't know the conversions very well, but it's like 96, 97 here with 70% humidity. I mean, it's scorching,
Yeah.
but it's all built a little bit different. Obviously, the homes here are built to try and manage that a little bit better, and my poor air conditioning is working its absolute heart out this month. But it's nice. One of the benefits of that kind of weather is I think you had access to a pool and a beach. That hot weather is a little more manageable when you can dip your toes in the water.
Absolutely, yeah, we did. We had a nice pool. We were just a 10-minute walk from the beach. Yeah, it was lovely. But yeah, in the UK, our homes are built to keep the cold out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is getting warmer with global warming. So we're getting hotter and hotter summers.
Yeah.
So we're going to need AC over here as well. So yeah, that'll be interesting when that comes around.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we will get into it. So one of the questions I love to ask, and you alluded to it, is where are you from? Or where are you now?
Yeah, so I'm from a place called Aberdeen in Scotland, which your president's just been and visited. So yeah, born and raised here, lived here my whole life. Yeah, nice place. It's a bit grey, it's a bit damp, but yeah, used to it. It's nice.
Nice. So, favorite sports team, do you root for Aberdeen in the Scottish Premier League, or are you a EPL guy?
Yeah, I'm an English Premier League guy. I did used to go and watch Aberdeen when I was a kid. I was an Aberdeen fan. I still follow them. But Liverpool took my heart when I was 8 years old, and I've just loved them ever since.
Yeah.
Back in the days when we were absolutely terrible as well. It was sort of 25 years of pain or whatever it was until Jurgen Klopp took over and the good times started rolling. So, but yeah, some brilliant times in there with Gerrard, Torres, Suarez, people like that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, many, many years of pain in there as well.
That makes the joy of winning so much better. When you go through
Absolutely.
this suffering and then you finally get to come out the other side and feel like, man, it was all worth it. So it's hard to go through those times, and they separate the real fans from the fake ones. I love the questions. Man City has been on a great run, and people are like, oh, I'm a Man City fan. I'm like, oh, how long you been a Man City fan? They're like, 3 years. I'm like, that's not real. Don't
No,
want
absolutely.
to shame people, but there are levels to that. Or you've got people that are like since the '60s, and you're like, okay, you deserve it.
Yeah.
So all a bit of fun. I love that piece. I can't wait to the time where we have some more history and some culture around MFL where we can kind of share those and be like, came from the Ice League or whatever it may look like.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, how did you find MFL? How did you get into it? I know you were a So Rare guy previously. Was there one guy that kind of led the
Mhm.
way for you?
So, as you know, we've been part of the Sorare Ramble, as it was called back then,
Yeah.
for a long, long time. And yeah, so David, Sorare Monkey, he started asking around about it, and then Hoodwink and Smoggy Pedro, two of my fellow mods in the Discord and guys that have been around forever, they said, "Oh yeah, we've been playing it for about 6 months. We love it." Blah blah blah. There you go. And then David created a channel in the Discord for MFL. So I think just literally a few days after that, I jumped in, and this was way back end of October, start of November last year. So it feels a long, long time ago now. Um, but yeah, so I just instantly thought this sounds amazing. I've always loved football manager games, simulation games, that kind of thing. So yeah, it just sounded perfect for me. So I thought, yeah, I'll jump in. Why not? I'll have a look. And then before I knew it, I was depositing loads and loads of money and and just enjoying the game and loving it. I was hooked instantly as soon as I started buying some players. But yeah, I didn't really have an overpowered team. I just had a sort of basic ice team. And then all my tactics just started working. Everything I wanted to implement just worked. And I thought, wow, this is actually really, really good. And then I won my Ice League quite convincingly by 15 points. And that was it. I was hooked, absolutely hooked. I was never leaving.
Yeah. It's infectious for sure. I think there are so many different stories that are that hook that really gets you. Somebody will tell us about it and we'll dip our toe in the water, and then there's that hook, whether it's the +8 progression or winning the Ice League by 15 points or whatever it is. And there's so many different ways to play, so many different ways to enjoy the game and get hooked in. And it's fantastic. I think it's why so many people love talking about it. I've been reaching out to people on Discord and chatting more, trying to kind of grow my circle, and everyone's saying the same thing.
Mhm.
I want to talk about MFL. I love talking about MFL, and the game's great. It's fantastic. It's so much fun, which is why we deal with the heartaches. I know we've kind of alluded to it. Some of the tactical challenges that we've had, some of the challenges that we've had this year, which I find interesting. I think a lot of the community kind of regards you as the tactical genius, the wonder kid. The MFL's Pep Guardiola. That may not be your favorite comparison if you're a Liverpool fan, but
Well, I'm starting to look like him. I know that.
could be worse. Could be much worse. There's other managers in the Prem that you could look like, and Pep's not so bad. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's such a nice title to have. People obviously look to me for tactics to have them pretty much since the start. But yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I'm a genius or anything like that. There's a lot of guys that are fantastic tactically in the game as well. I mean, Orange Fly Bob. There's a guy called Finn that's amazing as well. SR Monkey. I mean, I could rattle off loads of
yeah.
names, but there's so many great tactical minds in the game. So it's not just myself. There's a lot of people that think in similar ways. Josh XLs, you'll know him. He's been on a few shows recently as well. So yeah, all these guys have different facets and different ways that they add to the game, and it's just great hearing from them all and just getting all the different content on all.
Yeah. Do you find, you mentioned Bob, it always makes me chuckle. I find that you and Bob have very different approaches to tactics. And depending on where my team is and what I'm trying to do in the positions, I get good reads or good value out of both. Sometimes you'll give me something, and last year, as an example, you ran a lot of 4-1-2-2. And I had wingers. And I'm like, I can't run 4-1-2-2. I don't have the position for that. Bob ran some formations with wingers, and I chatted with him. And I kind of noticed similar things this year. You're leaning in one direction with tactics, and you're saying, hey, I'm finding success with this. And Bob took a different path. It's been interesting. Do you find that? Do you find that you and Bob are different, or is there anybody that you're like, oh, we have a very similar approach to tactics or to challenges?
I would say we're different this season. Previous seasons we've been quite aligned. Me and Bob will bounce off each other on loads of things, not just tactics. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to sort of co-manage a diamond team or something like that with him one day. I think that'd be amazing. But yeah, I love Bob. His ideas, his passion, what he's put into the game already. Fantastic guy. Content he makes is brilliant as well. That first show with you was just brilliant. It's sums up what a guy he is. You're both brilliant, to be fair.
I could not have asked for a better opening show. I joked kind of in the beginning that there was some tech issues, and I hope it didn't show too much, but I felt quite a bit of pressure and nerves and angst. And once I started talking with Bob, it was very easy. And part of that's talking about MFL is just fun and something that I'm happy to do and feels natural. But Bob was great. Chatting a little bit about Syracuse was fun. I know that was one of the surprises. So pivoting, going back a little bit, one of the questions I always love to ask is about favorite number. I started that with Bob. Syracuse has kind of a favorite number or a traditional number, and I was expecting to only ask that to Bob. Obi had an answer. Do you have kind of a special number? Are you just giving the 10 to the cam, or how does that work for you?
I do actually. So my favorite number is 23. The reason for that is it's my birthday.
Okay.
So that's kind of the main reason. Ironically, for Liverpool, Jamie Carragher wore it, so not the most glamorous of numbers in that sense. But yeah, just special to me for my birthday. It's always been a very lucky number for me as well. So yeah, although I haven't deliberately assigned it to any of my players on MFL, it's because I like other numbers like 7, 14, things like that. So it holds a special meaning, but it's not everything to me as such.
Yeah, I find the answers fascinating, right? I would have thought that Bob kind of responded to, why would I give 44 on a soccer kit, on a football kit? And then Obi said, we're joined by one of my pups.
Was it?
Yeah. Obi had 41, and part of the fun of the game is you can make it your own. You can tailor it, and you with numbers now, we can add 23. Your best player, your favorite player could be 23. The goalkeeper could be 23. Superstitions are such a part of sports, and maybe that works. Maybe you do it one year and the guy wins the golden boot and you're like, well, striker's got to have 23 or something like that. I'm curious to see where that question goes in the future, because I didn't expect it to be anything, and
yeah,
it's turned into a bit of fun. So
no, it's really cool. It's interesting to hear everyone's story behind the number as well.
Yeah. You said 20.
But yeah, mine's is quite boring, to be fair.
No, I mean everyone's is unique. 23 is quite a popular number in the States because of Michael Jordan. Normally, if you see that number, it's linked back to Michael Jordan. And you said 23. I was not expecting it to be a Jordan reference, but I was like, I'm curious. I wonder if it's a Jordan tie-in. And then LeBron wore 23, and so the history kind of continues with basketball for that space. So. Yep.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that, actually. I didn't know that. I used to watch a lot about basketball. I'm old enough to remember Michael Jordan playing as well, so...
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So I want to get into more tactics, kind of tactical theory and conversations. One of the questions I have is, do you prefer a more complex tactical system or simple? And what I mean by that is kind of like what the site allows us to do. So would you rather have more sliders where you can do a ton of stuff and you can do overlapping fullbacks, and or do you kind of want like more simplicity to just set it to go forward with some easy sliders?
Well, first of all, I would say I play other games as well, and I would say that MFL's tactical system is the best out there. It is it's the most in depth. They've added individual instructions, which alone is fantastic as well. It's another layer to it. But yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more depth, as you said there, like say overlapping or inverted wing backs or inside forwards, things like that, things that kind of Football Manager have. But as it is, it's a brilliant system.
Yeah.
So happy with the tactical setup as it is.
So Agree for sure. I think there are times that we can always want more. I think the thing that we have to take into consideration with that is that could be damaging to the game. Stuff could be broken. It could literally cause bugs, or it could be overpowered. FIFA, EAFC has pretty unique tactical system, and they've added layers on over the years. And there are times that content creators for those games have been like, "Hey, this is broken. It's too strong." Everyone copy pastes, and it ends up watering down the game quite a bit because there's no skill diversity. It's just a best tactic. One thing that I like about MFL is there's stuff that's strong and stuff that's weak, but it feels more kind of rock paper scissors. I know that phrase gets thrown around a lot. Rock paper scissors is a very simple game. MFL is very complicated, but it's the idea that there is not a perfect system, or there is not a kind of a hey, nothing beats this. Everything has a strength and a weakness, and there are pulls and pushes. Obviously, we've discussed there are some formations, and it's like, hey, this just isn't working this year. But in future years, those have come back. So I think that's fun. There are times for sure that I've wanted more complex things, but I've also been quite happy that there's not too many bugs or not too many issues that are just game breaking or just mind numbing as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've used rock paper scissors a lot as a terminology within MFL because that is what I believe the past couple of engines have been like. It's a case of kind of who shows their hand, who's gonna use a formation that trumps another formation, and sometimes that wins you the game.
Yeah,
it's whoever guesses best, essentially. Which in a way is cool because you certainly don't want an overpowered formation that just dominates everyone, because then everyone plays that formation, the value of those players rise and other players fall, and it just creates carnage in other ways. So yeah, I do like it as it is. Obviously, we've discussed the engine this season and our thoughts on it, and I'm sure we'll get to that as well. But yeah, we will get to a point where there's a more polished version of this engine as well.
Yeah.
And then that'll change everything again.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about it. We'll skip around a little bit. You and I were talking in preseason, and I know you were talking with some other people as well, and there started some chats. People were struggling in the preseason with a single CDM, started to find a bit more success with a double CDM, and that was raised, and from what I understand, it was kind of adjusted or tied back, and the dev team kind of pulled that back. Is that kind of correct? Mm-hmm. Was that kind of your read and how you felt?
Yeah, so during testing, I've seen a lot of CDM red cards, poor performances. Was that a 4.7 and a yellow card kind of thing? And it was just so consistently bad. There was just no balance to it whatsoever. So I was one of the ones that was quite vocal about it in the engine feedback. And I said, we need to sort this, we need a bit of balance and so on. But then I noticed that there was a double CDM format meta. So all the double CDM formations were suddenly overpowered. So obviously I rebuilt my teams to add in those CDMs, thinking that was the finalized version of the engine. I know you did as well to an extent, and other guys did as well.
Yep.
And but on the back of us complaining in the first place, they went and made some changes. Yeah. Now, obviously, that removed the double CDM meta.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a bit all over the place those few days, and unfortunately for me, that was when I was kind of traveling to and in Portugal.
Yeah.
So I didn't have time or any sort of capacity to do any testing, any adjustments. So it's really knocked me for 6 at the start of this season.
Yeah, it's been tough. I saw that, and there was some when we spoke in the Ramble. I think Hoodwink said they've kind of pulled it back, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, because 2 days ago the 2 CDMs were working quite well, and then it kind of flatlined, and I was wondering, well, maybe I'm just playing better teams, better tactics as we've gone on. And then I started to do more and more and more testing, and I started to feel more and more and more lost. I feel like I'm starting to move in a more progressive direction these past couple days, but I'm in the same boat. I started way behind. On the Ramble, I said one of my ice teams I was expecting to be playoffs top 3, and I was in second to last, and I got a win today, but I'm like right on the edge of relegation, and I'm like, man, I went from expecting to be in the top to I'm like, just don't get relegated. This team's way too good to be in Spark. So it's been interesting. Those late switches, I think, were probably the right decision. It was unfortunate the timing because I think we had made some roster constructions. You said you bought guys. I loaned guys in. So I've committed to giving games to those guys, and now I'm really scratching my head trying to figure out, do I run double CDM formations to get the games in for the loan accommodations, or do I pay the percentage and just sack it? But then I feel bad because I feel like I have a duty to the manager that's loaned him in. So it's added a wrinkle that I did not want this year.
Well, you do have a couple of other options there as well. You could either try and cancel the loans mid-season, or you could loan out your guys and play the loans that you have.
Yeah.
So you do have some options there. And as you say, you could just end up playing some of those double CDM formations. Some of them do still work. I will say that. It's certainly against certain formations anyway, they do still work. So yeah, there is potential there. But if you've agreed, say, 20 game clauses and you only use that formation 3 times a season, then that's a big problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you do have some options there. You could potentially fix it all mid-season, really.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, I think we've said this before, and I've certainly heard other guys saying it, but the variance is much, much higher in this engine.
Yeah.
So, or it feels higher. Maybe all the variance is coming at the start of the season. Who knows? We won't know that at this point because we're so early. But we should have a better idea come sort of mid-season. Then you can make your decision what you're going to do with the CDMs. That's kind of where I am with my CDMs as well.
It has to be higher. I'd love to see a data set, and I don't necessarily think that's a horrible thing. Something that we've talked about in the past was the total points gap. There's a lot that goes into this, but I know last season we were saying kind of like you were saying, hey, if I can beat a team that's 50 points better than me, that's a really good win. It's a really good tactical win. I was kind of targeting 20. If I could make up 20 points of difference. Now, like I said, there's a lot that goes into that. Individual stats, where the points are, how lopsided the teams are, formation versus formation. It seems like it's a lot more this year. I'm seeing a lot of teams that are 30, 40-point underdogs win. Some of that surely is good tactics, but I think some of that as well is variance. Do you have kind of a number in mind that you are like, hey, this should kind of equal a win, or this should kind of feel really good?
Yeah, that's a great question. Last season, I felt the variance was kind of where MFL said it would be, which is sort of 20%, because that includes good and bad variance as well. You know, that's luck for and against. So
yeah.
But yeah, as you know, last season I had an incredible season. I finished second in silver when I should have been ninth projected. I got promoted with all my teams, apart from in silver in the end, but that was for the best. So I was beating teams with 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 overall gaps for fun, just purely because the tactics were good and I managed to read what the other manager was doing, things like that. So the engine was well set up for me to do that. So it's not all about me being a tactical genius or nothing like that. It was a combination of factors. I had variance in my favour. I managed to read what they were doing. Again, going back to the rock, paper, scissors thing. So I managed to pre-read what they would do. I had the players to execute the formations I was looking to put out. So it was a multitude of things. It was a number of factors. But this season is just so different. So different.
Yeah.
I mean, I love MFL. I love the team. But I think they they might have rushed that fix for CDMs out potentially. I don't know. Again, it's too early in the season to know. So that high variance that we're feeling at the moment could balance itself out over the season. Maybe it isn't high variance. Maybe it's just us tactically. Maybe it's a number of things that we're doing wrong. So yeah, it's hard to say whether it's a good or a bad engine change at this point because it's just too early in the season to tell. Essentially.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Honestly, you historically have had tactics nailed down. They've been so strong, where you've used those strength and tactics to create predictable results, and I think you're learning through tactics and probably trying to fine tune those. Where in other years or other seasons, you were further ahead on the scale, and I think we're seeing more variance for sure. I've done a ton of testing against the same teams, and I've sent screenshots, and I'm like 5-0 win, 5-0 loss, 1-1 draw, 2-2 draw. I'm like, there's a wide array of outcomes, and maybe that's good, maybe that's real, and maybe that's football, and we should be seeing that. It's just interesting. It's interesting to kind of study and reset our expectations. In seasons past, I felt like if I had 10, 15, 20 points of lead on the team, I was really expecting the win. And I'm realizing as I'm scouting other teams, I'm like, I still have to do my homework. If I'm a favorite in a team, I still have to do a bit of more homework and make sure I don't throw away points because I'm looking past teams.
Yeah.
It's different, and maybe it's a good thing.
Well, just to jump in there, so as I was saying earlier, maybe it isn't. Maybe the engine fix is good. It could balance itself out over the season. Maybe we just haven't found the right tactics, the right formations. There's so many variables to it. There is no one sort of answer to it. So yeah, we'll just need to see how it goes over time. But from the testing that I've done, the variance seems incredibly high. Incredibly high. If I had to put a figure on it, I think they estimated it should be around 20%, and it feels like about 50% to me.
Yeah.
But again, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe my tactics don't work. I'm questioning everything at the moment.
Yeah. I think if we have bad tactics, then we should see consistent losses, and we're not. And it's been one of the things that I've struggled with, like, how do I fix my tactics if it's constantly bad results, then I've done something wrong. If it's sometimes good, sometimes bad, then I'm saying, hey, maybe there's variance in the site, and then it's a little bit harder for me to figure out what's working and what's not. But part of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, I was just going to say, you could be absolutely spot on there because that's kind of the barometer I used to use as well. Because I would think, if I play the same team 10 times, if I beat them 8 times, that's down to good tactics, good preparation, all these things. And yeah, that doesn't happen so far this season. There's too much. But not only is there variance, it's such a high swing.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned it there. It's either 5-0 you or 5-0 them. There's no kind of in between. It's yeah. But friendlies, I mean, I've mentioned this to you. I think you've said it to me as well. I feel that friendlies are different to competitive games. I don't know if that's by design or, maybe they've changed it since previous engines. I don't know, but yeah, it's a lot to work out.
I've had a couple different theories. One of the theories that I've had is I wonder if they're pulling in the other team's tactics in friendlies, or if they're just giving a baseline with the players. So if somebody's running like a really high line with direct, I think they are. I ran a ton of friendlies against a team last night. I'll show preparing for today, and I think this tells a bit of a story. This team here, this Darth Maul to Plata FC. I mean, I ran a ton of tactics, And
Wow, yeah.
this I lost to them today 1-0. The team's good. It's got good tactics. I think they figured something
Mhm.
out. I looked at their season. They started with a couple different formations, and then they pivoted into what they're running now. Um,
Yeah.
I was seeing running friendlies against them that I thought that they were running controlled with high aggression and high pressing, and I saw the same thing in the game. One of the players ended up with a red card kind of late in the game, and he had 4 or 5 yellows. And I was like, "This is working." So I don't think that's right. It's a theory that I've had, that maybe the tactics aren't coming through. Obviously, I think it would pull the default tactics. There's a chance that what we're seeing in games are not default tactics. So there's a lot that goes on there. This is probably a good season to try and learn and have some good takeaways as things aren't going so right or so easily for us.
Well, two things I would say there as well, and I know a lot of managers do this, but you could either set up a dummy tactic to throw people off when they do play in friendlies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's option one. Or you could adjust on the back of you having played them in all those friendlies. Maybe they've seen something, then made a change for the competitive game, and come the competitive game, it's totally different.
Yeah.
So that does happen. So we're maybe putting that down to variance as well. But maybe it's just a manager being smart and just having used either a dummy tactic or made adjustments.
Playing a bit of cat and mouse for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, but I know I've done that in the past, and I know plenty others do it as well.
I think the higher up leagues, as the managers are consistently the same, I think we'll see that a bit more. In Ice, there's so many teams, Ice, Spark, Flint, even in Stone to an extent, there's so many teams that you're not seeing a lot of repetition. You're not seeing a lot of repetition year in and year out. Some of those teams are getting flip-flopped, so they're being sold and bought by other managers, and so we'll see different tactics. But Bob talked about it a little bit, and I think that's really cool where you're seeing kind of the dummy tactics and the cat and mouse game and the rock paper scissors effect, right? He goes rock a lot, so I'm going to go paper. There's a Ted Lasso where they're playing against the Wonder Kid, and he kind of loses his mind and says, "We're going to run a 4-3-3 because he expects us to run a 4-4-2, but then he would think that we're going to run this, and so we're going to run this." And he gets done with this kind of whole rant, and he's like, "I don't know what to do." And so kind of fun to see kind of all that play out and what happens. And so it leads me to one of the questions I had. There are some managers, I think it's Ronan, is a 4-1-2 and 2 narrow, and he just sticks with a 4-1-2 and 2 narrow and tries to master that formation. Are you a bigger fan of mastering one formation, or do you like to kind of be a little bit more flexible and trying to play against the other manager or the opponent?
Definitely option two. I've always been one where, I guess to reword that answer a bit, it's not really to always match what they're doing,
Yep.
but it's more so they don't know what I'm doing.
Okay.
Would be the better way I would phrase that. So that's why in all the previous pods I've been on, I've said, I love having multiple tactical setups, many saved formations, different players that can play different positions, because that way no one will ever be able to prepare against you. They won't know what you're going to play, how you're going to set it up. They can't play friendlies against you because it's either going to be a dummy tactic or I'll change formation from the previous game. So that's kind of the way I'll prepare, as opposed to, I mean, sometimes I will target a certain team, especially if they're doing well. I think they're 30 points better overall. They're going to be really hard to beat. Sometimes I maybe will target them and just kind of set up a tactical formation that might beat them. But most of the time, it's just to keep people guessing. It's just so they don't know.
Yeah. I just looked at the last 5 games. You ran 4 different formations.
Yeah.
You had a great opportunity. You could have just lied, and you could have been like, "Nope, running a 4-4-2 every game." So if you're playing me, I'm running a 4-4-2. Could have set people up a bit, but
as you can see by my results, it hasn't really worked. Not this season.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a different season. I I think your theory works. I think working through it and kind of understanding what fits makes sense. Um,
Hmm.
so you talked a little bit about running different formations, having some variability. Last year, I noticed something as we were talking. It seemed like your teams pressed a lot, and it seemed like your CDMs had very high defensive integration stats. Um, was that kind of
Hmm.
coincidence? Did you lean into what you were able to, what your players had, or are you targeting high pressing players?
So I've always bought players based on individual stats that I've liked. So to put that in a better way, instead of buying an 82 rated player, I'd buy a 79 rated that's got better individual stats that I prefer.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go 3 overalls less just to get the stats that I want. So I've always been an individual stat guy. So midfielders, I'll go for high defense, high physical, but I'll complement that with someone with pace, someone with shooting, and then someone else with passing and physical and defense. So between, say, I've got a 3-man midfield. Between that 3-man midfield, they can do a bit of everything
Yeah.
essentially. And whereas centre backs, I'll target pace, defense, physical, 3 attributes.
Yeah.
Strikers would be, pace, shooting, and physical, or whatever it may be. So I've always bought players specifically based on stats that I like, then make the formation and tactics work with them.
So when you think about building a team, you use three midfielders. Are you kind of thinking, I want a 6, an 8, and a 10, and kind of saying I want one guy to do one thing, another guy to do another thing, another guy to do a third thing? Or are you saying I really like passing stats and I want all three of these midfielders to be good passers? Maybe I'll sack on dribbling, but I want good passers.
Well, so last season was a good example when you mentioned that I was running a lot of 4-1-2 and 2 narrow.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I did that was because I've got a high physical, high defensive CDM, but I have two amazing CMs as well. So I managed to play all three of them in
Yeah.
the same team. So it was a great formation for it. Um, yeah, so it just worked because, as I said earlier, they all kind of complement each other in terms of, one had high physical, one had high passing, maybe two had high defense, one had high shooting, things like that. So it was almost like kind of how I see real life tactics and real life teams wanting to set up, like Liverpool, for example, buying a Florian Wirtz, who's high creativity, great dribbler. And then you've got like a Ryan Gravenberch who'll sit back, he'll defend, he'll break up plays. So yeah, I try and see it as real life and just how I would want my team to play in real life. So like a proper 6, a proper 8, maybe a 10. Yeah, things like that. A fast striker and a strong striker, a tall striker and a short striker, and just mix it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think it's something that I've tried to do a little bit better is not look at the overall tag, but look at the individual stats. I have not taken a
Mm.
ton of consideration into how they blend together. That might be a next step for me.
Yeah.
I get baited so often by that total number, that total overall.
Mm.
What's the phrasing? Now it's bothering me.
Yeah, it's easy to do. I mean, but the way I see it is if you have an 86 rated centre back and he's got 35 pace, he's not going to be much use to anyone. So,
Yeah,
I mean, he might have 99 defending, so he would be good in certain games. But if you put him up against a striker with 95 pace, he's going to get absolutely destroyed on counter attacks. So, it's just kind of trying to think of all aspects of how a game would play out. And I know that people say height doesn't matter yet in MFL, but to me it does. So I'll only buy 6'2" plus defenders. I'll buy 6'2" keepers and things like that. So, because as I say, I try and keep it realistic. I try and think of how I would want to play in real life.
yeah,
I certainly wouldn't want a 5'4" centre back. Um,
yeah. I I want to understand that. I want more transparency around that from the dev team. If I had to ask a question, that'd be something I would love. I think a lot of times in real football, we tend to see center back pairings where we have one guy that's a bit physical, a bit bigger, and then one guy that's a bit more athletic. And they kind of
Yeah.
do different things, and they work well in tandem, or it doesn't work. But they do different things. I would love to kind of see that in MFL as well, where if you had two big guys, they're going to get run by. If you had two little fast guys, they're going to get beat in the box. And maybe it's already happening and I'm just not paying close enough attention, but I love seeing that real life football. I want to go back. I think one of the things that you've done tactically that has worked, and I think it's a compliment to the engine, is that you're thinking about things comprehensively. You're not putting a player in a position, you're putting a player into a team of 11 and thinking about how the one player interacts with the others. So the example you used was the 34 pace center back. And while the defending's great, I'm looking at that player and saying that's an 87 rated defender, I got to have him on the team. And you're looking at him saying, he's slow. If you had to have him, you probably would work the tactics and say, all right, I'm going to run a low line. And so I'm going to run other players that I can run a low line with him, whether that's a CDM or whether that's other fullbacks, and then adjust around those tactics and then build in. That's a takeaway that I'm having right now. Hey, they have to work together, right? It's 11 players. And again, it's a compliment to the engine because they're working in tandem. It's not one player, one player, one player. It's not 11 one-on-one matchups. And they have to work 100%.
It's a big compliment to the engine because I've always implemented my tactical ideas in a way that I would in real life. So it's a huge compliment to the way MFL have set it up because that's worked. That has worked. It's mirrored that setup. But to go back to that point about the slow centre back, now don't get me wrong, that slow centre back would be elite. He'd be incredible in many, many games. But the way I see it is that limits you because you would have to do a deep, low depth.
Yeah.
Whereas if I have a fast centre back, I can play any way that I want. I can do a high line, I can do deep, I can go counter attack, I can go direct. So that's another way I see it because it gives me multiple options instead of just one. Which a slow centre back, you've got to have a low depth essentially. That's what you'd be thinking in your mind anyway, because you would just get done on counter attacks by fast forwards.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you like to be flexible. You like to move guys in and out. I have been trying to do that a bit more. I've seen the success that you've had. I think it's a really good way to approach tactics. One of the challenges I keep running into are guys are low on fitness on days that I want to run them. And I'll kind of elaborate. I want to run a 4-3-3 with this team against some of the next matchups. And my CDMs are very low in the 90s. And I want to run them in a couple of games in the next few. And I'm finding myself tailoring my formation in the next two games towards fitness. How do you approach that? How do you make sure that you don't get stuck with this setup where I'm like, great, 4-3-3 would be great against this team, but I can't run center mids?
Well, I'm glad that you've said that, Ryan, because that's another big reason as to why I change formation a lot, purely to manage fitness as well. But I always run quite big squads, which, as much as I love doing that, it's very detrimental to the progression. So, but I hear a lot of managers running sort of 15, 16, 17 man squads, and they're getting amazing progression, and I'm jealous. So, but on the flip side, which goes back to your very early question of progression versus promotion, it's that's a big one as well. So I've obviously had a lot of success with promotions, but my progression's probably stalled and suffered on the back of that. So yeah, it's a great question.
I think that question starts the manager's strategy and then trickles down. I mentioned trust the process, and he's pro progression. And you see it through, he's running 14, 15-man teams. Guys are getting a ton of games. But he's suffering in the competition of his games. But he's okay with that. It is a full strategy start to finish. I think there's more than one way to play the game. Sure, there's more than two ways to play the game, but it's important to have those full insights for your strategy, right? And not say progression's the most important thing to me. I'm going to run thin teams. And then you're losing all the games and you're like, this isn't fair. This game's not very good. It's like, well, they've given themselves more resources with 24 players where they can pivot in and out. And so you're getting the progression, they're getting the promotion, and you're handicapping yourself. You can't have the cake and eat it too. It doesn't work that way.
No.
And I love that question.
Well, we mentioned it, I think, just before we started recording as well, where I said, initially promotion, it was all about promotion for me.
Yeah.
But I've kind of hit a ceiling now in terms of I'm in silver and I don't really want to go much higher at this point, for a while at least. So I'm all about progression now.
Yeah.
So the priority just shifts, so... Yeah, it's interesting, but you're right. You can't have your cake and eat it. You can't really maximize both. It's probably going to be one or the other, unless you get incredibly lucky.
Or spend a ton of money. I mean, but
Yeah.
most of us have limited resources, right? So how are you, as you're sliding more towards progression as a priority or as a strategy, how are you spending MFL right now? Are you trying to get 50, 60, 70 uncommon players and just hope that two of them hit rare, or are you buying one rare player? How does that change that decision process?
So last rewards, I only bought 2 rare players. I had 110,000 MFL. So I got 2 rare players for 90, I think it was 94,000, something like that. So I've got 24,000 left. Now, the reason I did that was because I'm actually managing 5 teams this season.
Okay.
Which you well know, which is the Ramble. I'm managing one for Danya, and I've got 3 of my own. But over those 5 teams, I've got loads of loans. So I kept back 24k to pay the loans, essentially. And that way I can maximize my rewards for the end of this season. Because what I'm going to do progression-wise, I think I'm going to set up a couple of farm teams, similar to Trust the Process, but in a small scale, obviously.
Yeah.
And use all the MFL that I'll hopefully have to myself at the end of the season to buy commons and limiteds, and that's where my thinking is now, because I just want a massive agency. I just want to see, there's nothing better than waking up in the morning and seeing a +1 or a +2, and it's such a buzz. It's an incredible feeling.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see that and have a couple of farm teams and not care about results, not care about promotion, all about progression. So that's where my head's at the moment.
The wake up and check the teams is one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
It's like Christmas morning. I don't know why we get so excited. The other thing that I think is incredibly stupid, but I'm as guilty of it as anybody, if a player goes +1 overall and it's because they got +1 shooting from a defender and it will not impact games at all, I'm pumped. I'm like, he went from a 68 to 69. It's like his shooting got better. You're never going to use that. The player's not performing any better today than he did yesterday. And I'm like, doesn't matter. He's +1. And then I could get a +2 in passing from a Cam, and I'm like, he didn't go +1. He's still a 54. I want him to tier break. And it's like, yeah, but now he's going to help you win games. I think that there's two parts to that are so funny, just kind of our conscious bias and how we look at that, but it's so much fun.
Well, let me put this to you, Ryan. So that centre back that gets the +1 in shooting, one day he's going to win you a game from a corner.
Yeah.
And you'll say it's because of that +1 shooting. I knew he was going to do it.
37 to 38 makes all the difference when you're banging the headers. So do you want to see shooting stats broken up at all? Headers and those sorts of things? FIFA or EAFC breaks down shooting into like multiple long-range shots, close-range shots, positioning. Would you want to see more granular stats like that in the future?
I'd love to see that. Yeah, I think it'd be brilliant. But as much as I love Football Manager, I don't want to fully copy Football Manager. I like MFL being unique and being different. So the granular stats would be incredible. but that would have a huge market impact.
Yeah.
Because, say you've got a 95 shooting striker who's worth $300 at the moment. So if you break that shooting down and it's really 80 long shots and 20 finishing, you need the finishing to be high, obviously. And say it's 25 headers. So essentially it's weighted towards one stat of the whatever the granular stats break into.
Yeah.
That suddenly kills the value of that player. So there's a large economic impact on that as well as playing the game as well. Because, that favourite striker that you've loved since the beginning of the game, if you suddenly see a granular breakdown of him and he's not what you wanted him to be, that changes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah. I did not think about the financial piece. My takeaway was more, got a tall striker, and I want to know if I should be crossing him the ball. Should I have him on more long shots? I want to min-max those stats. And I don't want to see a tall striker and be like, I'm crossing him the ball because he's tall. And then the truth is, height doesn't matter for headers. And I'm just, I'm running bad tactics because I'm tricking myself. But that's why we test. That's why you run friendlies and you find out if crossing the ball more often is scoring more goals or leading to shots on target.
Yeah. Well, let me give you an example. If you go into my HQ just now,
Yep.
and have a look at my strikers, and have a look at one of my 79 rated strikers. He is called. I'll try to see that on your screen. 2 seconds. Is it Navarro?
Navarro.
Navarro.
On the Dandies?
Yeah, have a look at him. Yeah. There you go. So look at his shooting and look at the rest of his stats.
Yeah, that's nice. 87 shooting. Well,
but he doesn't have great stats everywhere. But you imagine that 87 shooting is broken down in a beautiful way, where it's, really attractive and his finishing's great. He's great in the air because he's quite tall. He's 6'3" or something. And he's got great long shots. Suddenly that boosts his value because he's fantastic in all the key shooting metrics.
Yeah.
But maybe that 87 shooting is weighted towards one granular stat. And if it is, that's a problem.
Yes. So short term, yes. As players continue to get printed, I think it becomes interesting. We've seen players target the 58 rated right mid that's a 70 striker, kind of that aspect of it. I think it would be cool to see people say, oh, I've got a 62 rated striker on a Stone team. And people are like, why? It's like his heading is 85. I just put him in the middle of the box, tell him not to go anywhere, and he's scoring goals left and right. And they're like, oh, or you have kind of these skill aspects where tactics are coming in and people are putting stuff together and they're like, I've got wingers that have great crossing stats, or I've got overlapping fullbacks that are just banging the ball in, and then I've got this guy with good heading, and it's like we don't shoot from outside the box, we just get it out wide, play it in, like that's how we go. And it scares me though, because if we get that granular, then is the balance going to stay good, right? Are we still going to be able to play from different ways and stay good? But I like hearing some of the stories of people that have found really creative approaches to winning. I think that the offset ratings has been something that's popular and a lot of people are doing now. But I remember the first time that there was a couple teams I played that their face values were pretty low and their actual in-position ratings were high. And I was like, wow, how did they do this? They went and just found a ton of people that are better at their second position than they are their primary position, and they've really leaned into this. More flexibility, more tactics, I think is fun.
While you've got your screen on, search for Finn. Have you ever looked at Finn's team before?
I don't think so. FINN?
A great example for this conversation. FINN. Deportivo Quito, I think his team is.
Yeah.
But if you look at his players, have a look at his players. I'm a big fan of this man.
How
Now look, just look at. So go up to the top. Look at the. Is it the right back? It's a centre back.
yeah.
Have a look at him. Yeah. Now look at those stats.
Wow, a ton of pace.
Now he's a 81 centre back, I think it is.
He's a 91 center back.
No, an 81 centre back. But look at those individual stats for a centre back though.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Now imagine that at centre back with that pace, etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome player. But Finn has got awesome players in every single position. The man just buys quality.
And he's got high ratings. And
He is very, very good at this game.
one to keep an eye on, I'm noticing something that leaves me very curious. There's one uncommon on the team. He's got a bunch of low rated players and they're all for sale. And then
Now, well, before you come out of that, go to progression and have a look at his all-time progression as well.
yeah, for the size of his gallery, for 64 players. So he's finding progression monsters and keeping them. And there's a +5 and a 43.
Exactly.
I noticed some of the lower rateds. So he's
Not only does the man buy quality, he buys progression monsters that just get better and better.
he's got a trick. He's got a tactic.
Yeah. And he is very, very good at this game. He's top of his leagues. He wins cups.
One team. I think that's interesting with a different approach, right? He's got one team.
Brilliant model, though. Brilliant way to play the game.
Yeah. And he's firing off guys
That's just one example.
for low ratings.
Yeah.
Low sales, low ratings, low sales. I'm curious to see what he's doing because that catches my attention. I wonder if he's just flipping guys down there. He's finding them for 10 cents and selling them for 30 or 40. I wonder if he's doing a little bit of trading. But
There's
very
a future
interesting.
guest for your show right there.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have to get him on. So one of the other things I wanted to go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, on you go.
I wanted to get a little more granular with tactics. So you go ahead, then we'll talk more.
No, I was just gonna talk rubbish, to be honest, and just say have you spoken to Sid and anyone else about coming on?
I've talked to a couple people. I have not talked to Sid. That's one I'll have to reach out to.
I mentioned him on the Ramble as well today. So yeah, he's a very popular man, doing amazing stuff both in the marketplace and tactically. So yeah, we have to get him on a show soon.
I'll see if he can make time for me. One of the things that I'm conscious about is knowing the person, wanting to like ask the right questions and get a feel for what makes them unique to the platform. If there's someone that I really don't know anything about, I don't think I can do it justice to bring them on.
Okay.
So I'm a little. Sid's probably fantastic. I would hate to bring him on, ask him a bunch of dumb questions that aren't unique to him, and then it's a waste.
You'll love it. You'll love it. He's just like us. He's like Bob as well. So great guy.
Cool. All right, I'll see if I can get him tuned in. There's a couple people that I've reached out to that have given me kind of like, hey, I'm busy right now, but come back in a couple weeks. And then there's somebody that I have queued up. I think they're going to be episode 4. I'm not.
I think I know who that is, so that'll be exciting. That'll be good.
I'll message you. I don't know if I said their name to you. I'll message you and give you the name. I like a little bit of a secret when we drop the show. I don't know if that's a great idea or bad idea, but right now I'm keeping it a secret as much as I can. So, yep, I wanted to get a little more granular in tactics. I want to try and learn a little bit more for myself, and I'm sure plenty of managers have the same questions. So, is there a particular team in this group that you kind of prepared for a bit more than the others, or are they kind of all the same? Because I wanted to kind of go through it with you, if that's okay.
No, absolutely. Let's do it. So, with the current form I'm in, and now that I'm back from Portugal, I am looking at things in a lot more detail than I was the previous week. So I have been trying to analyse every opponent as much as I can because I have to pick up my form. I have to look at different every aspect essentially.
I'm
How do they play? Which formations do they use? Which players do they need to rotate? I'll look into that sort of detail as
yeah.
well. Who do they have sitting at 90% fitness that will get rotated? So I look at absolutely everything if I have the time to do it, and I have the time this week. And thankfully, the Dandies picked up a win tonight, so that one paid off.
Did did
In
you
fact, I actually, sorry, on you go.
did you get deeper into Orlando? Can we use them as an example?
Yeah, we can use them. So all I was going to say is I had 5 games tonight, and I won 4 and drew 1. So the form has massively picked up tonight alone. So that's really good.
Yeah. Um.
Yeah.
Okay, so you saw and FC Cincinnati. He's one of the bigger managers. He's a good manager, right?
Yeah, then I think he could be a future guest for you as well. He's a bit of a whale, I believe, in this game. So
Yeah, I'm familiar
yeah,
with that name, and I don't have the biggest circle. So, all right. So you saw you're playing this
you'll get
team.
there, man.
What how did you start? What's the first thing that you look at when you look ahead to an opponent? Um, I want to ask you
So
about.
I can tell you off the top of my head, I knew that he plays different formations, but I had a feeling he was going to play that 4-4-1-1 tonight.
Yeah.
Just purely based on player fitness, rotations that he uses. It was just all set up for him to use that formation.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew, well, I say I knew, but I had a feeling that the 4-2 would beat it. Just purely because the players I've got, the positioning of those players in that formation, and the style that I was using. And yeah, nice 2-0 win there.
Yep. Okay. So the first thing you start with is you try and target your opponent's formation. Is that normally correct?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, in previous engines, I didn't really have to do that. I just I knew what tactics worked in previous engines, and I knew that I had amazing players for those positions in those formations.
Yep.
So I would rotate whatever formation I felt was best for that game, but I wouldn't always scout the opposition. Sometimes I would, but I had a confidence in the engine that I knew my tactics would work.
Yeah.
So it was a bit different, but now I'm struggling this season. I'm really struggling because of the success, partially because of the success of last season, because I've been promoted to higher leagues ahead of my time, higher than what my team's level should be. So yeah, and with such a bad start to the season, I have to analyze every single detail now just to try and turn it around.
Yeah.
So yeah, but to go back to your question, yeah, I analysed everything about this. I looked at their fitness, I looked at their rotations, I looked at what players I had fit as well. Because I like trying to plan a few games in advance, certainly for fitness and formations. So yeah, I looked at absolutely everything, every possible aspect. Not only did I look at all those things, but I've also changed my tactics for this 4-2 because I've used it quite a lot already this season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've got a nice settled version of it now that will work against certain formations, and this is one of them.
Okay. Are you watching Orlando Tourist games, or did you go through and watch any of this team's previous games to see what he's losing against,
No.
or no? So just straight in.
Well, I did. I did look at the results. I went and looked at the results, but I never went through and actually watched the games.
Okay.
To watch them in 2D, you'd be there forever watching all the games.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I'll skip through highlights, see how they scored a goal, things like that. But I mean, that's an even higher level of detail than what I'm going into, and you need a serious amount of time to do that. So, especially for 5 teams.
Yeah. Yeah. I will watch highlights. If I'm not picking up on something, I'll try and watch extended highlights. I wouldn't copy what I'm doing. I'm not having enough success. But when I was doing preseason, something I kept noticing is I was noticing that dribbling was working really well. And I kind of fell in love with it, ran a lot of dribbling, wasn't seeing the end results, was seeing the really good dribbling stats, and then kind of took away and said, okay, dribbling's really good with beating defenders one-on-one, maybe in the final third for the forwards and the wingers. for guys that have the dribbling stat, push dribbling to them and attack through there. And I was noticing that from the highlights, from seeing literally 3 defenders close in on a guy and he dribbles through him. I'm not watching games in 2D. If I'm going through and watching highlights and not seeing something that jumps out at me, I'll go to extended highlights and look for something. Hey, are they crossing the ball a lot? And then typically I'm trying to kind of apply a logical approach and then testing in against it. And like I'll think, hey, maybe controlled works really well here. And I'll test controlled. And then if I'm seeing those results, I'm like, okay, controlled might be a good solution against him. And if I'm not, I'll pivot to direct. I do want a disclaimer here. Like I said, I ran about I felt like 100 games last night against this team, and I lost. So I don't know that I have the best solutions here, but I like talking about it. I like kind of trying to break it down. So
I'm glad that you're doing that though, Ryan, because when we first started chatting many moons ago now, you weren't doing that, So
yeah.
So it's good to see that you've evolved. You're trying to learn and looking at different ways to do it, and I think that's brilliant. I really do.
I have kind of enjoyed the challenge of trying to get better tactically, and I think that's a good approach. I realized when we first started talking, I argued that I was doing a lot of testing, and I think I said I was doing like 5 to 10 games over the course of like a week. And then when we were on the Ramble, I think Hoodwink said he did over 100 friendlies before the season started, and I was like, okay, we're on a different level. I can't claim that I'm running a lot of friendlies when the guy next to me is running 100 friendlies. So I've been doing a bit more of that. Some of it just comes down to bandwidth and how much time I have. Last night I had a bit more time. The kids fell asleep early, and I got to just sit here and run games. I had on one screen I had Leagues Cup on, and then on the other screen I was running friendlies. And then at halftime, I was watching a little bit.
Well, here's a pro tip for you that I do when I'm working, especially. So I hope my boss isn't listening to this. But when I'm working, I'll just hit rematch. Then if I get a couple of hours at night, then I'll analyze the games.
Yeah.
So don't think about analyzing the games as they happen. Just get them played and then analyze them when you have time.
Are you taking more feedback from underlying stats or what you're seeing in the game, or both?
Definitely both, because I always hear the XG conversation. I always hear, possession, and for me, none of that matters. It's all about shots.
Yeah, raw shots.
Shots on target, shots off target, how many saves the keeper's making. It sounds basic, but for me, it's everything. Because XG, the way XG is calculated, I don't think it's accurate. And XG is just expected goals. It's not guaranteed goals. So that's what could happen. So for me, I just don't use it. I don't see the purpose of it. I don't need it. So yeah, I'll analyze stats, but I also like to watch all the goals. I'll certainly watch all the goals. I'll see the build up. I like seeing any defensive mistakes and why they were caused. Was that caused because the forward was on press more often, or was that a cross into the box that my shorter defender didn't deal with, or I like looking at all these things, but that's the key metrics for me.
Yep. Talking about XG, even last year, I was thinking if I won XG, I should win. Watching the engine a little bit more, there are times that crosses come in and the XG from the shot ends up being like 0.3 or 0.35. And I'm not seeing a third of those headed balls go in.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, if you get a guy with good shooting on the edge of the box that fires in a shot or a little outside of the box, that XG pulls up as like 0.06. Those are going in more than 1 in 20. And so to me, those two examples tend to be like a variance. If you have 4 shots that are those crosses and headed balls in the contested area, your XG is going to be at like 1.2. If the other guy has like 4 shots from just outside of the box with a good shooter, his XG is going to be like 0.25. And I would bet money that the guy with the 4 shots from the edge of the box is going to have more goals than the guy with the 4-headed balls.
Yeah.
And that's
another thing as well is all the variables to it. So, if you finish a game with 4 XG and you win 7-0, that's an incredible game.
Yeah.
But you analyze that game in detail, and then the guy had a 5th-minute red card at centre back.
Yeah.
And and 3 of your goals were penalties. 2 of them were direct free kicks. So then XG just goes clean out the window. It's just, for me, it's pointless. It's a guide. It's a guided stat that you can use if you like, but I don't use it.
I'm with you. I like using shots. How much do you lean into shots on target?
Yeah, so I would say shots and the reasoning for the shots. So, I'll try and skip through the highlights to see all the shots if I can. Certainly if I have time, I'll do that. Because I love seeing how a shot is created. Was that my creative skill? Was that a defensive error? Things like that. So I'll take way more out of that than I would from XG.
There's the match stats, Spotmon, but I think SofaScore have where the shots come from and then their path. So like if they get blocked, it'll show a shot from outside the blocks, blocked on the penalty spot or something kind of along those lines. I think SofaScore has something where it'll show like the 2 passes before and then the shot. I'm sure it would take a lot of computing power, but I would love to see that specifically on like a quick highlight, right?
I do love the writing. If you scroll down again on that screen that you're on, so you'll see shots on target, shots off target, shots blocked, and saves.
Yeah,
I love all 4 of those metrics. That alone tells you a huge amount. It tells you more than XG for me.
So if you're seeing a lot of shots blocked, are you thinking that your defense is getting into the shape, and you're thinking my defensive shape is good?
Well, so if you look at this game as an example, right? So what did I have? Was it 8 shots and 5 on target? Is that what that says?
Correct. Yeah.
That's a nice ratio for me. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But I also look that I had 3 shots off target and 0 blocked. So that says to me, creatively, I was very good. I got in between the lines. I did everything I was meaning to do. 3 shots off target is just wasteful from the people that took those shots. But out of the 8 shots that I took, 5 were on target. So that's a positive ratio. So I'm happy with that. That's a good ratio. Whereas the XG says 1.03, I think that says.
Yeah.
Now for me it should be 2, maybe 2.5. That's what the XG should be, based on what I'm seeing there. But again, I don't really use XG. I like to kind of calculate my own XG as such in my own head. So
I think that's probably a mistake that is leading to frustration. I know I have been in that bucket where I've said my XG was good. Shots on target are a much better indicator of goals than XG. So what do you attribute? You had 5 shots on target on 8 goals. I think it's 62.5% of the shots were on target, and the opposite side was 1 and 9. That's 11%. What do you think you did well? Why do you think your shots on target were good? I started off thinking that this was lucky. 5 versus 1 was just luck and variance. As I've had some more conversations, I think that there's a bit more tactics. I think that's a reflection of tactics. What do you think contributed to the better percentages?
Well, this is what I think you can see in the ratings. You see the player ratings to the right.
Yeah.
Clearly going down the left side was the way to win this game.
Yeah.
So my right cam and my right striker didn't do anything. They were probably the 2 that had the 3 shots off target. So the ratings tell me a lot as well. And then look at his left centre mid and his left centre back. They had a shocker. So clearly going through the left side of his team worked a treat.
Navarro didn't have any shots.
There you go.
Did you push the ball down the left? Did you do prioritize left-hand side? Do you remember?
I'd love to say I did. Then I would sound like a tactical genius, but no, unfortunately, I never.
Um,
But I didn't realize that would be a weakness in his team. But now, if I'm the next guy away to play FC Cincinnati or whatever the guy's called,
yeah.
then I would look at that and I'd think, well, hold on. Although he's got an 82 rated CDM or whatever that is, and an 80 rated centre back, clearly those guys didn't play very well there. And then go and look at those players. So what's his right CDM look like and his right centre back? You know, are they slow? Are they small? So then I look at little weaknesses like that as well. Why did they play bad, essentially?
Yeah, breaking it down. I think
Yeah.
this is a difference between how you've analyzed and how I've analyzed, and I think your success and my mediocrity kind of shows in that. I like this.
It's all learning.
Yeah. No, I think they're great takeaways. To your point,
There's loads I could learn as well.
You're looking at the defensive stats, the size. One thing that I think is interesting is this is a CDM playing down at center back. To your point, he's 5'6".
There you go.
Which
there you go.
Maybe that impacted. I am a big believer in looking at more than one sample size, particularly with this engine.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke in the beginning, so there was a lot of variance. I don't like running one game of variance and saying that didn't work or that worked.
Yeah.
I'm much more willing to watch one game and think, okay, that didn't work rather than that did work. There are some times that I've seen like high lines. I'll run a high line and test a high line and then watch his right mid left wing just bomb crosses over the top with direct. And I'm like, okay, high line's not the solution. He's got really good passing and he's running direct. So I'm not running a high line, or I don't think that's the solution. I'll test more things, and if I can't find a solution, maybe I'll come back to it and tinker some more. But no, looking at individual stats is great. That's really, really intuitive to kind of break down. And I'm
well,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, as I was about to say, I mean, I haven't even watched this game. This is the first time I'm looking at this game with you.
Sorry.
And no, it's perfect. It's a perfect example because I haven't pre-analyzed it, so I couldn't tell you, what the issues are and what the positives were. But you've just found it straight away. The guy had a CDM playing at centre back that was 5'6". Yeah. So I would maybe go and bring up the 2 goals, and have a look at those, and maybe one was a cross and a header, and the 5'6" guy couldn't get to it, or maybe he got burned in pace, and that was kind of what it was. But that would be my kind of train of thought, of process of analysing. So I would look at who performed well, how the goals were scored, where his weaknesses were, what the shots were like, and just analyse all of it and just put it all together. And then that would help you find future weaknesses in similar teams, as well as strengths in your own team, of course, as well.
So this is interesting. His CDM pulls out wide, and his his right back tucks into center back, and you go over the top, and then his right back cuts in. Sometimes you get a little bit of bias on the goals because stuff is going to go wrong on goals. When things go right, you don't see them in highlights. So you're only going to see the mistakes. It's really easy to watch the highlights in an engine and say, this isn't working right, because you're getting the outliers. And like we have defensive mistakes in real life. This should be happening. And probably if it happened twice, it's the 2 goals. The other thing that I wonder, to your point, when you watch more and you try and put more data together is maybe running a CDM at center back, causing him to have more positional freedom or float back into the middle of the field and follow people. The other thing is...
Well,
go ahead.
The one thing I would say there, Ryan, is instantly the problem with that goal was his centre back and his right back's positioning. Now, was the right back thinking that the CDM was a CDM? And that's why he tucked in.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things I would ask myself and kind of wonder about the engine in the setup and what this guy's done tactically as well. Or did he have the CDM on high freedom or something crazy like that, which you wouldn't think he would.
He follows. I caught it a little bit late. He follows 19. It looks like he comes out to track 19, your other striker, and
Yeah.
And then your 19 cuts in, and then he drops back. He's trying to mark your other striker. It looks like.
Yeah.
So it's not as bad when you break
go.
it down.
Yeah, but that shouldn't be happening because he's the right centre back, so he should be staying marking his striker. He shouldn't be going to mark the other guy and then leaving the right back having to come in and cover for him, which I guess is a realistic mistake. That does happen in real life.
Well, so the other center back is shadowing, his 4 is shadowing 20, your other striker. So
yeah,
and then they get all out of sorts because your cam is up forward too. So
the formations pulled his centre backs out of position.
Yep. So
my formations pulled his centre backs out.
Yeah. Yep. And it's something that we talked about is formational rock paper scissors and trying to break that down. And then the second one looked like just a quick turn and shot. I didn't look as closely.
Yeah, I mean, some of them won't be mistakes. That just think that a good through ball, for example.
Yeah.
And then that was just a turn and a shot. So his defender actually gave it away. If you notice though, his defender gave it away to my CDM. They got the assist, the right CDM.
Yeah.
And then just a quick through ball because the guy that gave it away was then out of position. You see?
Yep. And
so now there's space for him to take that shot and make that through ball. So.
And good shooting stat.
So I've got him on loan from Kodak. It's another one of my friends on MFL. So yeah, great striker him. But for me, I just had a quick look at those 2 goals with you, and both of them are defensive mistakes for me.
Yeah.
So good finishes, but both space created through defensive mistakes, which I would like to think has been forced because of my formation, because I've picked 2 cams and 2 strikers, which have confused the centre backs.
I complained to you a while back that I felt like a lot of the goals were coming from defensive mistakes, and I wonder if there isn't something in the tactics that I need to learn to fix that. I've asked you a bit, I've asked Bob a bit, I've tinkered with some different things. I don't feel like I've found an answer there yet, but whether it's low aggression, high aggression, but that might be some of the variants in the engine this year. I have kind of formed an opinion, and I don't know that I'm right, but if your team overall is heavy in defense, it does not seem to be yielding as strong of results as if somebody has really high forwards or passing midfielders. The goals seem to be a little bit more predictable than the defense, and if you're if the balance of your team overall is in defense, there seems to be more variance. I think maybe that's just bias because my couple of my teams are high in defense and then not quite as strong up front, and I've seen a lot of goal variance there. But I was watching Laird's.
So,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say one thing I would say is, do you ever captain your goalkeeper?
I don't. I should start trying.
So
I should friendly.
A lot of the top teams do that. And by top teams, I mean the guys in Diamond and Platinum, way above me. And but if you go to your tactics screen, you'll notice that I've captained my goalkeeper and I got a clean sheet.
Yeah.
But if you then go to your tactics screen as well, and if you go to tactics and pop the captain on your goalkeeper, and so see at the bottom,
it
says captain boost. You see it?
Yep.
+2 defense for the whole team.
Yep. If I'm not mistaken, last year the goalkeeper captain didn't boost the whole team's defensive. Am I wrong?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know because I've only started captaining my goalkeeper this season.
Okay. I, I,
I
I
don't know.
I didn't think it gave a team defensive boost. That was one of the reasons that I was always thinking that captaining a goalkeeper was wrong. Um, so
Well,
I'll
plus if you throw your captain about, if you go back to your tactics screen, I don't know if you've noticed this before, but you get different boosts based on who you captain.
yeah. So forwards are shooting and pace,
Yeah.
and I think this is true for strikers and wingers, and then midfielders are passing and dribbling, and then the defenders are
Yes.
defending and physical. Um, and as
Yeah.
far as I can
But
tell,
that's why I think a lot of the top end guys will captain their goalkeeper because it just gives such a big defensive boost.
yeah,
So I would say try that and see if that helps.
yeah,
But as a second phase, as an answer to your point there about sort of defensive mistakes and things like that, again, I think it comes back to the formational rock paper scissors, and I think our example there of the Dandies win just kind of really adds weight to that as well
yeah,
because I think the two cams and the two strikers overloaded his centre backs and that forced those errors. I could be wrong, but that's what I think it was.
yeah.
Um, so essentially, I picked the right formation for his formation to win the game. I think he actually had a better team than me as well. I think overall wise, he had a higher rated team. But yeah, I just think that has such a huge impact. That formational rock paper scissors on both attack and defense. I think is massive.
I have kind of felt at times that it can be a bit of a numbers game. How many people are in attack? How many people are in defense? And different formations offer different things. The other thing is kind of in the midfield. I think last year you showed that if you can crowd the midfield, run a high line and press, then it doesn't
Yeah.
matter how many people they have in attack if they're not getting across midfield. Um,
Yeah, I mean, spot on. That's exactly the way I run my team most of the season, and it worked a treat. You know, a 4-1-2-1-2 narrow, high line, aggressive, pressing, high physical, high defense midfield, and it just dominated. The engine was just set up for it, and it just dominated.
yeah,
But this time, it's a bit different. It's that there isn't kind of one formation to dominate all this season.
there does seem to be quite a bit more variance. I know we've chatted. I think wingers are doing better this year than they have in years past. I also think that managers that are running wide formations are they're utilizing the wingers well. We're seeing either wingers with high shooting take a lot of shots, or wingers with high dribbling really press forward and do really well. So
Yeah.
I did want to just kind of glance and kind of pick your brain for my next game. I've got Wolfpack,
Sure.
and so tell me if this is kind of how you would approach. So I'm going into the team and seeing what he has run in games past. 4-3-3 defense. I think this was your team. Monkey Kings is it's SR Monkey.
That's our monkeys team.
Oh,
So different formation there.
5-2-3.
So 5-2-3, totally different.
This was a cup game. 5-2-3.
5-2-3, yeah. But I would take that sample size over at least 6 games.
4-2-2 narrow. So he varies a bit.
Yeah, he varies a bit. And then once I've looked at all those games, maybe analyze some of the goals as well if I have time.
Okay.
Different formation again, 4-1-4-1.
Yeah.
So, but another thing as well is he's not winning with most of these formations. A lot of managers will go back to the formations that they win with, and they'll stick to that. So that's another factor to consider as well. Plus, if you go into his team and look at his fitness, and does he have any suspended players? Does he have anyone sub 92 fitness? And then take all that into consideration as well.
CM that's low. He does seem to be rotating, and he's got a lot
There
of
you go.
players.
So if he's rotating and he's going to rotate into, say, the 100% guys, what would that formation look like? What are the positions that he would rotate into? And then just try and guess and work out the formation from there.
So at this point, I'm not seeing One thing I'm tempted to lean into is playing a formation or playing a line that I think is stronger for me, something that I think has proven results. Would you kind of default to the same thing?
Yeah, so I was just about to say, using this guy as an example, which is pretty perfect actually. He hasn't won any of his last 5 games, so he might actually surprise you and come out with a totally different formation that he hasn't played recently because he's clearly not having any success with the formations he is playing.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, when it gets to that point, you've kind of analyzed it all, and you think to yourself, this guy could just totally surprise me. You know, he might just come up with a 4-3-3 attack or a 4-2-4 or something totally crazy. Then it just comes back to yourself. You just need to focus on yourself and just think, what is my strongest team? What would be the best tactical setup if he ran X, Y, or Z formation?
Yep.
Who? What is my fitness like? You know, you just have to worry about yourself sometimes, and hope you win the rock paper scissors out of it all.
Yeah,
But
I think that's
not
a good
everyone
call.
believes in that, by the way. Not everyone believes in the rock paper scissors and the formational tactics are important and things like that. But yeah, for me, it's massive. Certainly in the past couple of engines, I think it's been huge.
Yeah, I think it's been one of the things that's made kind of your approach, your tactical approach, unique. I've liked it. It makes a lot of sense. But your strategy is complete through that, right? You run positional flexibility. You run bigger teams. You prepare for a couple different formations that will work. I know when you run friendlies, you will look for consistent patterns. Do you use MFL Coach at all? I know I've referenced this, and you have not been quite as. Do you use this much? This grid?
I've looked at it before. I find it really interesting because I'd love to know how the data is gathered.
Yeah.
I wonder, is it all just, is it all balanced formations? Is it, there's no context to that data as
Yep.
such. There's no individual instructions. There's no, so many variables that aren't there. It's just one formation versus another in a percentage, but there's just no context to that percentage. So I just find it difficult to trust it and understand what it's based on.
Yeah. I leaned into this a lot last year, and I thought it works sometimes and it didn't work. One of the takeaways that I had is I'm more willing to believe the data if there are big outliers.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah, higher
4-2-2,
percentages than what are shown.
there's not a ton of game sample size, so this would be the thing that I would say maybe test the idea, but 4-3-1-2 is killing 4-2-2. And so if I'm seeing somebody play a 4-2-2 and I can run a 4-3-1-2, I might start with testing here and then see if I'm finding the same thing. Now the flip side of that is it could be the same two managers that are playing each other across two different levels, and one of them just has good tactics and one of them has bad tactics with such a small sample size. But I think this is a very good baseline to start forming opinions, to start testing into it. The biggest thing I think is you got to test, especially with the all the different variances, to try and figure out.
As you know, Ryan, that's always been my mantra: test, test, test. It's not only to see what the opponents are doing, but how you can get the best out of your team as well. So, yeah, I mean, the MFL Coach might be a handy tool. It could be a nice little guide and a reference, but it can't be a Bible. It can't be the be all and end all. You can use it as a starting point, but that's all it is for me.
Yeah.
I mean, fair play to the guy that's done that. He's put a lot of effort and work into that, and it's an incredible tool. Even as a guide, it's an incredible tool.
Yeah. Agree with both statements. You can't use it as a Bible. It is an incredible tool, and I think with any tool you have to understand how to use it. I like it a lot. I use it a lot. So shout out to Alexis that built this. And there's some
He's
other
amazing. Yeah.
stuff here for scouting if you're not familiar. you can put in filters. If you're looking to run friendlies against a particular formation, I do this a lot. If I'm trying to figure out 4-2-2, and I know the guy's team is like 780, I'll run a variance here in 4-2-2, and then I'll look for teams that are running 4-2-2s, and Elgoat's in here a couple times. Brickyard's in here a lot. So, like, I probably would go in and grab Brickyard and run a couple of friendlies against Brickyard.
I didn't know that was even there. That's a fantastic tool.
Yeah, the screenshot I sent you the other day of the, I said, hey, this looks like it might be a hard counter, was from here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember the screenshot, yeah.
And then...
No, this looks really good. I didn't know this section existed, though. This must be quite new.
Yeah, I think a season or two ago it got added, maybe beginning of last season. There's a couple formations that I think we don't see a ton, like 5-3-2 we don't see a ton. So if there's no data, sometimes I'll just go in and look and see like common variances. Okay, 5-3, it got killed by 4-1-2-2. It lost to 4-1-2-2, a much weaker side it lost. It's hard to find data on
That's
some of these.
That's amazing data.
Yeah.
Amazing data, that.
Yeah. Yep. So a couple different ways that you can start your thought process, and then I think test, because it's only going to tell you what happened that one time, and it may not apply to your team and your individual stats. The more I've played, the more I've realized that there's just a lot of levels, and everything matters. And if you look for shortcuts, you're going to end up disappointed.
Yeah,
but that's
100%.
good. That speaks so highly to the engine and how good it is, and you get rewarded for putting in the work. So I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. Well, I've said that to you all along, and I think it likes a Bob, and a lot of other guys have said that as well. It is hard work, and it's a constant evolving process. But the harder you work at this game, the better you'll be at it.
For sure. Even if you don't find the short-term success, I think that's something that I think is important to note as well. Is sometimes the process takes a little bit. I do have one question I skipped over that I like to ask. Do you have a favorite player? And I think I know who it is.
You know who it is. Pietro Malteni. Right there, right in front of you. There he is. My handsome Italian man.
Are you just a big fan of Italians, or is it a particular shooting stat that you might be a fan of? What brings him to be the favorite player? Oh, you froze.
Well, I've always had a thing with Italy. I've always loved Italy. My two daughters have Italian names, so... But it just so happened to be that this guy came out and he was Italian, and I've loved him ever since I packed him. He was my first ever rare pack.
Okay.
And I just think he's got stunning stats. I loved his little cartoon avatar that he had before the photorealistic change as well.
Yeah.
So that's still my Discord. That's still my Discord profile. So yeah, just obsessed with the guy. Love him. His goal record's incredible as well. Have you seen that new site that I shared in Discord? There it is. That's his cartoon image. It's amazing.
I saw it. I haven't had time to dig in. So something I have on the docket.
No worries. So, well, on that new website, it shows you all-time goals and assists.
Yeah.
So this guy's incredible. He's got more goals and assists than he has appearances. So that's what you want.
Wow. Yeah, you love to see that. 20, 15, 29, 21. Did you pack it mid-season, season 1?
Yeah, mid-season, season 1. First ever rare pack that I got. And I loaned him out to that MFC Manolia or whatever they were called.
Yep.
And he was awful, and I thought, no, never again. I'll just keep him. And then I think bronze was his best ever season last season, and it was just insane. His numbers were insane.
Yeah, season 4, 29 goals, 4 assists, 4 yellow cards.
That's the one.
Didn't take the shirt off. Avoided the shirt celebration for the 5th suspension. But yeah, that's awesome. I think everyone has a favorite player. Everyone I've talked to, and I think that's such a cool part of the game. Even though they're fake,
Yeah.
we shouldn't be so attached. But um, some people just click.
He's not fake when I get a T-shirt or a statue made for him.
That's a great call out. Would you be on board for replicating a jersey for one of your logos or a hat or anything like that?
Oh yes. Oh, MFL would make a fortune out of me for merch,
Yep.
honestly. So yeah, there's an idea for you guys right there.
I think that is incredibly difficult to do with customization, particularly when we have people in UK, France, and the US. But absolutely, I'm
Hmm.
with you. I'd have a hat. I'd have stuff that had the team logo on it. I put a bit of time into the Raleigh Rain logo, and I'd have a Raleigh Rain
Hmm.
kit or a Raleigh Rain hat for sure. So, anything you want to
Yeah,
share? Any
brilliant.
closing notes or anything you want to bring up or shout out?
No, not really. Just really enjoyed the chat, mate. Thanks for having me on, and yeah, hopefully it was valuable for everyone that's listening. And if anyone needs anything, just give me a shout. Hit me up on Discord and or Twitter or whatever. Just give me a shout. Hopefully I can help. And I really want to learn more myself. If there's anything I can learn, I'm open to that. So I love just having conversations about MFL in general.
Yeah, yeah. I think having so many different approaches, so many different managers with so many different approaches. I think we all have something to learn. Even if it's a new manager in ice, they may have an approach or an idea that you're like, I never thought of that, or I never thought of it that way. Um, I think the first kind of light bulb
Absolutely.
was when Trust the Process went on and talked about losing on purpose. And that was never something that I had considered. And then he explained why it was strategic. And I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. There's a lot of fun, and there's more than one way to do this, and love talking about it. And
Mm.
really appreciate you jumping on. Thank you again
Yes,
so much. We'll talk again, hopefully very soon.
absolutely, mate. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks. Have a good one.
Cheers.